Hello, Year 4, and welcome to Maths with Mr. Bowes on, what's this going to be? Tuesday, the 26th. Start off just by marking the work from yesterday. This is your starter activity with the answers in. Just check that now and tick those you got right, which should be all of them. Well done. And now marking your fraction work, which obviously required some explanations in some case. So here we have the spicy and spicier. Pause the video to mark these. And the spiciest work. Again, you can see there's explanations on 5 and 6, question 5 and 6, and you need to explain things in a sentence with these ones when it asks you to. Well done. Let's start today's lesson. So today we are using equivalent fractions. I'd like you to pause the video and write today's date and the learning objective in your books, please. Okay, so let's look briefly at different ways we can represent 1/3. Now, one of these, or two of these, do not represent a third. Which of the 4 images represents 1/3? That's right. These two represent a third. This one, you would have to have something coloured in on it to represent a third. One of the sections would have to be looking different, and obviously this one is showing perhaps, well, not 1, but perhaps 3/4. Okay, complete the diagrams to show fractions equivalent to 1/4. Equivalent to a quarter. Now we've done a lot of work on fractions which are equivalent. It means they are the same. If you can't remember, you might need to pop back to your fraction wall. Ooh, let me just tidy that up, make it look like fractions. And you can use that to find fractions which are equivalent to the fractions shown. But what is shown? First of all, I'm going to have to count off and find. It's something over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's something eighths. Okay. Complete the diagrams to show fractions equivalent to a quarter. So what they want to know is how many eighths is a quarter. How many eighths is a quarter? And you can go to your fraction wall on MathSpot, manipulatives, and you can find out. We know that one already. Check what this one is. I think it might be 16ths. It looks a lot smaller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. How many 16ths will be equivalent or the same as a quarter? There we can see that 2/8 are the same as a quarter and 4/16 are the same as a quarter. Complete the missing numbers in the calculation below. So when we're working out equivalent fractions, if we're not going to look at the pictures and the images on MathSpots, I've shown you a numerical way. I've shown it to you quite quickly, but what you need to know is that whatever you do to the top number, which is the numerator, you have to do to the bottom number, which is the denominator. So in this case, they've got 7 and they've multiplied it by 4. If you know your times tables, which you do, you know 4 sevens are 28. So the top number would have to be multiplied by 4 as well. So there we go. 7 times 4 is 28. 1 times 4 is 4. These are equivalent fractions. That's why they've got the equal sign in the middle there. On this question, you have to circle the fractions which are equivalent to 1/4. So you've got to look, you've got to remember, you've got to work out which ones are equivalent. Okay, 1/4, 2/8, 4/16, and 3/12. So just go over that numerical method again. If I've got 1/4, as long as I do the same thing to both sides, so 4 times 3, 1 times 3, I'm going to end up with 1 times 3 is 3, and 4 times 3 is 12. So that's how I know that they are equivalent. For this one, you can see that they're multiplying by 2, and by this one you can see that they're multiplying by 4 at the top and at the bottom. Okay, good. Write a fraction which is equivalent to 1/6. equivalent to 1/6, equal to 1/6. Okay, so same method. In this case, they're multiplying by 3. You could multiply by something else. They did 1 times 3 equals 3. They did 6 times 3 equals 18. But they could have done 4. Yeah, they could have done 1 times 4 is 4. 6 times 4 is 24. It's still an equivalent fraction. Yeah, these will be equal to each other. Okay, today's spicy work. Apologies if the bottom of the screen is slightly missing. It should say, well, I can move it up a little bit. This should say times by 2. Not quite sure why that jumped off the screen. It wasn't like that earlier. Times in by 2. So question 1A, 1B, question 2A, 2B. Use the methods that I've just shown you to find out the missing spaces on questions 2 here, and on question 1, complete the diagrams to show fractions equivalent to 1/3. So what you would have to do is you'd have to draw these on your piece of paper in your book so that you can show a fraction which is equivalent to 1/3. Count how many there are. When you draw this in your book, make sure each square is the same size. Use a ruler and fill that in. Okay, there's 2 pages here for the spicy work. Pause the video to do this one. And pause the video to do this one as well. That's a little bit bigger, isn't it? Keeps wanting to jump back. Sorry if that's a little bit small. I don't know why it's gone small today. Question 3A and 3B, 4A and 4B. Circling fractions that is equivalent to a half. Circling fractions that are equivalent to different fractions. So in this case, you've got missing number puzzles as well down here. So you have to think about what is missing from there if it's going to be equivalent to 1/6. And you have to describe what you've been doing. What did you multiply by? If you can't remember, look back at the example which I just showed you, which explains how to do that. And you can always check, of course, by looking at sixths, this number here, looking at 1/6, and seeing how many twelfths it will be on your fraction wall. Here's a sixth. I haven't got any twelfths there, so remember I can click on the number at the top right hand corner here, this number. I can go to twelfths, and I can then pull out a sixth, and I can pull out twelfths, and I can find out what the relationship is between those two by lining them up. Good. Okay, spicier work. Again, you're completing diagrams by coloring in. You have to draw these out in your books, and you are looking at missing number puzzles where you are converting fractions using multiplication, same to the top numerator to the bottom denominator. More spicier work, and the spiciest. Question 4A, 4B, 5A, 5B. Read them carefully twice before you do them. On questions 5A and 5B, you can only use the digit cards that they've given you. They've given you a 3 and a 9 and a 6 and a 12 and a 4 and a 5 and a 2. You've got to use those cards to create 3 equivalent fractions, 3 fractions which are the same. Bit of a puzzle, that. Last one for the spiciest, 6A and CB. You've got to explain whether people are correct or not. You have to convince me, okay? So that means a sentence and work it out. We won't do that one today. We'll come on to that one next time. Okay, well done, Year 4, and I will see you in the next lesson.